Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into an all-new edition of Daily Face-Off Live. Tyler Yaremchuk and Carter Hutton with you as we get set to talk a little hockey, and we'll be joined by a former Stanley Cup champion. Andrew Ladd will swing by in about 15 minutes. Plenty to get to with the former Winnipeg Jet, Chicago Blackhawk, Carolina Hurricane, New York Islander, Arizona Coyote. But as always, the show, a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. If you got any questions for us or Andrew Ladd, you can toss those into the YouTube chat. But I see our first comment, Huts. It comes in from Riley. 0 hockey games tonight. NHL taking a big L on night 4 of the season. That's a bad look for the league.
Oh, it's terrible look for the league. I get sometimes when they don't line up in playoffs, if there's basketball playoffs or stuff going on, but what are we doing here? We got some momentum. Things are rolling. Hockey's just getting started. To not have any games on the schedule tonight is just earth-shattering to me, Ty.
Yeah, it's crazy. Again, I get scheduling is difficult, and a lot of teams played last night and building availabilities and this, that, whatever. Night 4 of the regular season, and you couldn't find a way to do a double header between 4 of your 32 franchises. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then even same thing on Sunday. I think there's 1 game on the schedule on Sunday. That's insane. It's a long weekend in Canada. You should have Canadian teams playing on Sunday night because people aren't working on Monday. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I just think sometimes we just shoot ourselves in the foot, right? We talk about social media and branding and where we're at, and we want to grow the game and all the momentum we have coming off the Four Nations Cup and McDavid. And just right now, I feel like hockey is doing well for itself, the contracts, the franchises, and to not have games is just, as a fan and just from the business side, doesn't really make a lot of sense, doesn't seem justified. And I don't know who the schedule maker is, but let's start using AI. Maybe it might be a little easier. I'm sure they wouldn't do this to us. ChatGPT it.
They would never, Huts. All right. Before we get to Andrew Ladd, we got a couple of things to knock off the list because it was a busy night last night in the NHL. And one of the big headlines was first overall pick Matthew Schaefer making his NHL debut with the New York Islanders. And at, I think it's 18 years and just a handful of days, he's the youngest defenseman chosen first overall to play a game in the NHL. He ends up picking up an assist. He plays north of 17 minutes. He looks actually really good, Huts. And what's impressive about him, and it's, maybe a little obvious when you look at a defenseman drafted that high with that skill set, I love the way he activates. He's up in the rush in a flash, and his skating is so good, almost blink, and he's right back in position.
Yeah, I got it written down here. 18 years and 34 days. That is very young. I don't know what I was doing at 18, but I was sleeping on my parents' couch, I think. This is so impressive. And again, I think the confidence of these younger players, right? He's a guy that has great foot speed. We've seen it. He gets that jersey flapping like a Mike Modano when he's flying up the rink. So one thing I think is important with this team is, known for their defense, known how they can be structured. It's going to be good for him to be a little bit protected. And where I would be a little more worried if he was in a system that was trying to generate more offense, more run and gun, he can pick his spots and be a little bit safer in that sense. But this is a great honor for him. You know what I mean? There's not many guys. He set the record. I think he just beat Niedermayer by, it looks like 12 days. He was 18 years and 46 days for the first point recorded. So, it's awesome for him. He's a great player. And what I do like about this younger generation is the confidence in their interviews, they have a little more swagger, right? Where before guys would come in the league, you're always like hesitant on what you said and you didn't want to rock the boat, but he's coming in like a whirlwind. It was fun to watch last night.
Yeah, and listen, I still think this Islanders team is a long ways away from being competitive, and they lost last night to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Well, more on the Penguins in a little bit, and it's a core that's getting older. I think the big moments for this Islanders season will be, what do they do at the deadline? You got Pajot and Anders Lee, who are pending UFAs. They probably get you a relatively decent haul. I love the trade they made last year with Nelson going out and just bringing in a guy in Cal Ritchie, who's just, he's not on the team this year, but he'll be up at some point. He's a guy who'll crack that roster and be a really, really good player. Like, they'll get there at some point. I still think they're pretty far away, but when you're going through a rebuild, for a fan base to get their eyes on Matthew Schaefer right out of the gate, it's a lot of fun. And again, if the first game is any indication, this guy's ready for it. I don't think this is a 9 games he goes down, half a season, and we're figuring something out. I think he's going to be here to stick for the whole year.
Yeah, I think so. I think protecting his minutes as you go, right? Like 17 minutes is a good amount of hockey for an 18-year-old in the NHL. It's his strength. And, for me, defense necessarily, in years past, it's one of those positions where you need experience, just like goaltending, right? You got to play more, but it's changing now. You're not really a defenseman as much as you are a forward, and how much you activate you're into play. We've seen that with Cale Makar. We've seen that with Lane Hudson recently. There's so many more offense. Quinn Hughes per se. Like there's so many guys that jump on both sides of the puck. They're so versatile. And that's the new age defenseman. Not every defenseman is going to play that role, right? You're going to have guys in your bottom six that play less minutes, that play more that, ground and pound. And I think with his skating ability, he can sustain the NHL play, right? He's not going to get hit a lot. A lot of teams don't even finish checks anymore. It's more about possession and like maintaining depth. So it will be an adjustment. We'll see how the season goes, but it's got to be exciting early on. I think he's only going to get better as he adjusts the speed and the pace of the NHL.
Couple of other rookie standouts from last night. Beckett Seneca of the Anaheim Ducks, the third overall pick from 2024. He was a surprise third overall pick as well. He scores in his NHL debut. Harrison Brunicky from the Penguins. He becomes the first player of South African descent to score a goal in the NHL. And a big one for Fraser Minton, who made the Boston Bruins opening day roster. He was part of the Brandon Carlo trade last year, obviously a former Toronto Maple Leaf, and he zips up the ice in OT and finds the back of the net. The Bruins are 2-0 to start the year, and I love the big celebration from Minton as well. Like when you go back, when you look at rebuilds in hindsight, like you need to draft well, all that stuff, but a good trade here and there, Huts, and you get Minton in that deal for Carlo. And listen, it's a Bruins blue line that was getting pretty full. I know Carlo had term, and Carlo's a good player, but getting the haul they did for him, Minton's looking good. They got a first or a conditional first in 2026 as well. That's looking like a pretty nice piece of work for Don Sweeney.
It does, honestly, for how much Don Sweeney's been judged for that Marchand trade. He's done a few things where, and these are years where, he was a little bit like he lost picks because they were trying to make runs. They went to the cup. They weren't able to win. And there's always going to be a little bit of blowback for those trades and stuff where you were stacking up to try to make that play. But a trade like this where you get a younger guy and a key piece who has a good future, it's going to be good. I'm sure over at Leafs Nation today, they're going to be talking about Leafs Morning Take. They're going to be talking about Fraser Minton scoring that goal. I'm sure everybody in Leaf land's not too happy about that, seeing that, because they like to overreact to any former Leaf doing anything. But he's got a lot of upside. He plays a complete game. I feel like for him, he's going to be in a good opportunity. And that's the happy medium of now giving him a chance to be in a role where he's going to develop better at the NHL, where, yes, he could probably, if he was on the Leafs, he'd possibly still in the minors, right? Where he's going to get better reps, higher impact play toward his future. So it's a good start for him. And for the Bruins, 2-0 tie, it's a great start to start their season on a team that we didn't really think there were going to be much out of them.
One more on kind of the future segment of the show. The San Jose Sharks make their season debut last night. And listen, Michael Misa is on the roster. Sam Dickinson is on the roster. These are two big pieces of their future. Misa drafted just this past spring. Both of them healthy scratched for the first game of this season. And I know this grabbed the attention of some Sharks fans. And listen, the Ducks were maybe the trendsetters in this whole thing with the way they handled Leo Carlsson in his rookie year, kind of saying like, not load management, but he ain't playing every night. We're going to take it easy on him and not overload him in his first year. I think that's all fine, but I also look at a Sharks team who is starting their season on home ice. The fan base is excited to see Misa and Dickinson, and you leave them up in the press box so you can play Ryan Reeves for 6 minutes and 31 seconds. I think it's dumb. Like, I get development. Throw your fan base a bone. You're not going to be good no matter what happens in this first game. And Misa and Dickinson are not going to have their careers or their confidence shattered by whatever would happen in an opening night game. If anything, it's a good experience to throw them out there and be like, hey, first game of the year, there's some statement. Let's go.
Yeah, when you talk about like load management or just like how the Ducks handled Carlson, I think this is a great example of this is like a tone setter for your organization and where you're at. And as the season starts to drift on and there's more and more games, there's only one first game, right? So to be part of that is so important. And these younger guys are impacted by this, right? I think there's a little bit of pride. And we talked about that the other day with Jack Eichel about the competitiveness of like getting contracts and always being caught up in other stuff, where for these two players, looking across the board and seeing other guys getting games and things, there's a little bit of a shot to these guys too, right? They want to be involved. You don't want to be a healthy scratch. So I think risk reward at this point would have made more sense in my books to see them play. And on a team where you are rebuilding and this is your future, right? You already have enough young guys in the lineup. Like we've come to see, like, I love Ryan Reeves played with him, great guy, but like his foot speed is not getting anywhere, right? It's not like he's not being an impact. There's not going to be a fight in this game, like in the sense of it's not really a trend-setting game for their season. So that being said, I'm sure we'll see them soon, but I would have liked to see them out of the gate, especially at home on a big night.
Yeah, again, reward your home fans a little bit. They've been sitting through some
Oh,
dog shit hockey for a couple of years. You can put the kids in the lineup. Okay, up next, the Detroit Red Wings. Not the start to the season they were looking for, and I think they're one of those teams where their first month needs to be good. They need to come out of the gate strong because we've seen them try to play catch up the last number of years, and it doesn't work. The playoff drought is extended. Everyone's questioning the Yzer plan. One of the big moves he made yesterday or this offseason was out and getting John Gibson. He gets shelled. 5 goals on, I think it was 13 shots. He gets yanked. They didn't score on their chances, even though they had a bunch of them, and they were going up against Dobish in Montreal. That was an ugly one for Detroit. And as much as they look great on the ice, I love the jerseys. I love the brown equipment and all of that, the throwback look. You don't want to overreact to one game. But if I'm a Red Wings fan, I'm sitting there going, oh boy, is this going to be more of the same this year?
yeah, you got to be a little bit worried, right? John Gibson, who like, I don't know why it like caught me off guard when I was looking him up, looking at his numbers, only 32 years old. It feels like he's been playing since he was 15 in the league then. But, you know, he's played 500 games. He's been in Anaheim his whole career. There is that adjustment period. But the other thing for me is the Wings back end, this Yzer plan, what's gone on and where they're at. You look at some of these young D, Sandin Pellikka, his first game last night. Edvinsson, 22 years old, 104 games, not a lot of minutes. And then Johansson, 62 games. So when we talk about defensive zone and like predictability and just like they kind of set the foundation for your team, these are guys. And the other guys, you know, Sider's a good player. Sherrod's not really a top pairing guy. He's a guy you'd want to see maybe in that second pairing, maybe your number 4 on a really good team. So I feel like there's going to be an adjustment period. And the thing for me, what I saw last night was the chances were very off the rush and east-west plays where John Gibson isn't really known for being like this crazy lateral goalie. He's a goalie that if it's a predictable system, he plays well, he's boxy, he lets it come to him. So it's going to be an adjustment period here for him. And it's a bit worrisome. And this Red Wings team, again, like how long is the leash for Yzerman? Like I know I'm a big Stevie Y fan. I grew up a Red Wings fan. I love him. But at this point, like it doesn't seem like it's getting any better, Ty.
And the number one thing to look at, you can sign all the good veteran forwards you want, and they have young talent there. DeBrinket's been a good move for him. Like all of that, this whole failed rebuild and all the attempts at it goes back to his misses on the blue line. Like we're going to have Andrew Ladd on the show in a little bit. He played on a lot of winning hockey teams. How many of them do you think had 4 of their 6 defensemen 24 or younger? Probably not a whole lot.
Yeah, and the game's changed, right? Like younger guys get opportunities quicker now, right? Like it's more of a development league, right? You look at half the league that are winners, right? That are trying to win it, they kind of lose that state, right? Where normally on those deeper lines, your third, fourth line, or your last pairing, you had veteran guys. Where now these teams that are in this rebuilding phase, you're going to give those minutes to younger players. But that being said, like, are the Wings still in that phase, right? Because at some point, it's going to get to the point where I think a fan base and ownership, you just start to get sick of this losing that's been going on.
And then to even circle it back to our first conversation, I know they traded Dobson this offseason, but that's why I like the way the Islanders are even insulating Schaefer, right? They committed to Romanov long-term. He's 25 years old, but at least they have Pulak and Pelech and Mayfield and all these other guys who can go out there and eat tough minutes, can give him a stabilizing partner. Like, you need to surround guys. You can't surround Mort Seider with Ben Sherratt, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But we'll move on from the Red Wings. I see we have a Wings fan, Matt, in the chat, who's already saying Yzerman should have been fired 2 years ago. So the frustration, it's been long set in for fans out in Detroit. But a couple more things to hit on here. We'll play a little this or that. I'm going to throw 2 things your way. You got to pick one. There are 2 teams who are 2-0 to start the NHL season. It's overreaction week on Daily Faceoff Live. Penguins or Bruins? Which one do you give a better chance? I'm not going to say make the playoffs. I'm not going to get crazy. Which one do you give a better chance to at least hang around longer in the playoff conversation?
Oh, this is a tough one. You know, I went back and forth trying to think about this. I think I'm going to go with the Pens just in the week. Like the Metro's just an easier division for me this year. I think the Atlantic is still star-studded. I think with Crosby, Malkin, Letang, where these guys are at, you still have enough like firepower and offensive ability. But this conversation is going to come down to goaltending, in my opinion. In an Olympic schedule, when it's compressed, you know, how good is these guys are going to be down the stretch? Is Jari going to be able to be better in that role? Shelovs, that's the biggest question mark for me. When I give the edge to the Bruins with the way Swayman started. You know, last year, obviously, a bit of a write-off him missing training camp and where he's at. But I look for the Pens to be pretty good here in this compressed schedule, and the fact that they have two guys that are going to be battling for that starting job.
All right, next one I got for you. We'll talk a little more San Jose Sharks today because it was an ugly finish. It looked like they were about to pull off the big upset over the Golden Knights. And then we'll start with the game-tying goal. And, I mean, before we even get to the goalie talk, they miss on an open net. I mean, not once here, but twice on the wraparound. The play goes all the way back the other way. And, I mean, credit to Jack Eichel for carrying this one up the ice, I guess, and not panicking. But as you're going to see in about 10 seconds, it's a chip-in from outside the blue line that somehow fools Alex Nedeljkovic. The game goes to overtime, and I think it'd be fair to say that Ned was maybe a little bit rattled because he comes way out of his net to try to negate a 2-on-0, turns it right over, back of the net. Hutz, you're this or that. Which one of these plays was tougher to watch as a former goalie?
Oh, they're both really bad. You know what? I'm really glad I'm retired and I can't make these gaffes like this because I feel for him, right? We've all been there. I think the one at the end of the game, the tying goal, is the worst one, right? Here he's trying to force it. I think everything's out the window and he's trying to have an impact on the game. He gets out there. But I think the Eichel one is a killer, right? You're up 3-2 at home. It's late in the game. It's just it's a simple dump on net. It just can't happen. I think the overtime one doesn't happen if you just corral that pocket and, make a save there. But I feel for him today. The good thing about him is he's been through a lot. He's been a guy that's grinded out in the minors, bounced around teams. He'll be okay. I think in his media interview, he said he's got to practice fielding pop flies.
Ah, yeah, there you go. Another baseball reference for us. And yeah, I mean, this one sucks. I think I'm going to agree with you. Like this second one, he's obviously trying to force it. But if you watch from the start of the clip, there's a couple of Sharks who aren't exactly turning on the burners to get back. And I feel like if you can recognize a couple of guys are back checking hard, maybe you don't feel the need to skate out to the blue line in overtime. But yeah, that was a tough one. A tough night all around for Sharks fans. But I guess they got the point. I don't know. There's not going to be a lot of highlights out of San Jose this year. Let's get moving with the show and get to our big segment of the day as we welcome in Andrew Ladd. It's brought to you by Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, or after the game. Uber Eats is assisting fans' hockey experience all season long. Very excited to be joined on the show by a veteran of 1,001 NHL games, two-time Stanley Cup champion, the man whose jersey hangs in the rink in Maple Ridge, British Columbia. Andrew Ladd joins us. How's it going, Andrew?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Fantastic. We're going to talk a lot about the 1616 project and the Ladd Foundation, but something that happened last night that I'm really curious to get your thoughts on, the return to the ice for Jonathan Toews, his first game in 910 days as a former teammate of Toews. I guess, how unsurprised are you that he's able to make a comeback like this?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm surprised. I think you still, after taking that long off, you're wondering how long it's going to take him to get back into just the pace of the game. I don't think, his skill level and his IQ is always going to be there. I think it's the pace and getting up to speed with such a fast young game now. So it's great to see him back, and he played a lot last night. So it's a good way to get back in it.
Yeah, you kind of got to get right back on that horse, right? And you're a guy just like me. We lasted well into our 30s. It's hard to play. And, obviously your ties to Winnipeg, right? Like, you played a lot of hockey there. What's your thoughts on everyone now? Like the big contracts being signed in Winnipeg, keeping Scheifele, keeping Hellebuck, Kyle Connor, the next guy to drop. Obviously that was a market where a lot of guys didn't really want to go to at times. What does that mean to you? And what's your take on the Winnipeg Jets here?
Yeah, I think it's one of those places where you get there and the organization treats you really well. They got great people. It's a great community. And once you settle in, it's a place that you'd want to stay. So I think you've seen that with those core guys sticking around. I think they have a great group that it's going to be a good team for a long time. And I at this day and age, I think that's the most enticing thing. If you can have an organization or a team that is going to have a chance to win every year, then that's a primary thing for most guys.
I mean, everyone talks about the cold, but you'll suck it up through the cold if you think you have a shot at the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, you're spending most of your days in that rink anyways. So, Hutz will attest, like you're literally going from the house to the rink. And if you have kids, it's there's not much else going on in your life anyways. So, Yeah, I had nothing but good things to say about Winnipeg. We enjoyed our time there, the community, the people. So I think people really feel that when they're there.
I want to talk a bit about your new venture, 1616. Give the listeners sort of the base explanation of what it is and why it's your passion.
Yeah, this is our, I think it's our 4th year. And we've doubled enrollment every year. So we've gone from 10 teams in a pilot to over 438 last year. It's a free digital program that we try to teach kids the Buffalo mindset. So it focuses on more of the mental game than the physical game. I think this day and age, we spend so much time on the physical aspect of sport, and we expect kids at such a young age to have a level of maturity that I don't know if they're ready for yet. So 1616 is there to come in and really teach them some foundational skills in the mental side, and the Buffalo mindset, which it's called 1616 because that's when they coined the term Buffalo. Because when a storm hits, Buffalo is the only animal that doesn't run away from the storm. So they band together and go into the storm together. So that's the mindset we're trying to teach kids is, hey, when tough things hit, don't run away from them. Leverage the people around you and go towards those, and those will make you stronger moving forward.
Andrew, how did this come to, right? Like, for me, I reflect now as a player with my career, and my kids are in sports, we're playing, and a lot of times it is educating parents too, right? People get this concept of like what hockey is, and I guess for me, as I retired, you reflect on all the things the game taught you. Like, how did this come to fruition that you wanted to be involved in this?
Yeah, my wife and I had always been supportive of mental health, and I think one of the things we really noticed was that space was very reactive and not very proactive. And Hutz, as an athlete, you get that you want to build a foundation that is proactive. So when you get hit wrong or when something happens, that your body's able to sustain that. So I think it makes sense to me for us to get to kids at a young age and build that foundation. And it really happened to me. I was in with the Islanders. It was COVID year, so they didn't want me with the NHL team. They didn't want me in the minors. So I was literally skating by myself every day. I would text Lou at probably, the Islanders would play. I'd text him at 10:30 at night and be like, "Hey Lou, what time can I come skate tomorrow?" He, the ... shows up on my phone. I'm like, okay, he's going to answer me. And he'd be like, "Hey, you can come in at 2 tomorrow." I'm like, okay, cool. So I'd come in at 2 the next day. I'd work out, I'd skate by myself. And while I was doing that, I was working with a mental performance coach, and he's like, "Hey man, like you can just keep skating by yourself the whole year, but what would you be proud of at the end of this year?" And that was really the start of 1616. I was going through something mentally tough and trying to tap into a different purpose. And that was really the start. So that catapulted us to take an idea into, hey, how do we actually take this into action? And that is why 1616 exists today.
That's so good. I think for me, like even reflecting on my time with you in Arizona was a tricky time in my career, right? I had an ankle injury. I came back, was hurt again. It was kind of the beginning of the end for me, right? And as you start to get into that phase of your life when, hockey's coming to an end, what becomes important for you and, where do you change, right? So I think for you, like, is this something where you want to keep growing? I know you have a cast of guys involved, right? You have so many great NHLers you've played with that are involved. And I feel like this must be an easy sell to get guys to help out. And I'm sure there's a lot of interest from it, former players as well.
Yeah, guys have been fantastic. And I think what makes it unique is we actually use the power of story. So we teach all of our curriculum, which is confidence, connection, and character, through the stories of current and former NHL and PWHL players. So the kids are learning from, Mark Giordano and how he kind of just kept working on his own game and he was a late bloomer and everything wasn't happening for him when he was 10 and 12. He just kept focusing on, hey, how do I improve every day? And what mindset was needed for that in order to get to that next level. And obviously he ended up having an amazing career. So kids are able to kind of see him and understand like, oh, like a lot of NHL players, and you'll know this, is like, they're going through the same thing that 10-year-old kid is going through, right? They have confidence issues. They wonder, oh, like, where do I fit into this group? They have moments of resilience that they need to tackle throughout the season. So the idea that that's not happening at an NHL level is it's not a reality. And I think the more that we can talk about it as pros, the more kids understand that, hey, that's just a normal thing that we need to figure out as human beings. And guys understand that at that level, so they're more than happy to impact that next generation of players.
I'm looking on the site here. First off, it's totally free, which I think is awesome. That's such a good little gateway, and it just kills one of those barriers to entry. But I'm reading 10-week program designed to engage players, hockey parents, and coaches. And I mean, a lot of people, I mean, all the people watching, listening to the show are hockey parents. Explain that angle of it, like a hockey parent who's signing up for this. What are they going to get from the program?
Yeah, I think, first of all, there's a knowledge base that you accrue over the course of your career. And by the end of their career, you're like, oh, okay, like I've learned a lot from like making mistakes and just experiencing all these different things. And we also understand that, hey, parents of young kids, and they might not have that same knowledge base. So to understand why those concepts are important, and then B, hey, how do I actually reinforce those with my kids? So, and same with coaches, right? Coaches they're volunteers, they're figuring stuff out at on the go. So part of it is for us is really, hey, how do we get that knowledge and support to those parents and coaches so that they understand A, why these concepts are important, and then B, hey, how do I support these kids in these concepts, ensure that like we're doing our best to help develop these kids, not only as hockey players, but as humans too.
Yeah, well, that's great too, because I feel like for me, there's that transition period as a player when you're done, and obviously I've kind of got my foot into media, and this has got to be rewarding for you, right? With your experiences, being able to share them and be around this, and is there a plan to continue to grow this, or like this is just the initial phase? And when do you guys come out? Next Monday, right? Is that right?
Yeah, so the program opens. I'll give you a few things on the program. It opens October 13th, so that'll open to, and it's any kid. Ages, it's U13 is kind of the age 10 to 12. So if you're a 10 to 12-year-old hockey player or team, like this program is completely free. And then it'll stay open until January 1st. So teams can join at any time from October 30th to January 1st and go through the 10-week program. And it literally takes 20 minutes per week. So that's not 20 minutes a day, that's 20 minutes a week. So you'll watch like a 5 or 6 minute video every week. And I did it with my team last year, and we did it as a group. So before practice, we'd watch the 5 to 6 minute video, have a little discussion about the concept and why it was important and what the kids were thinking about it. And then as a coach or parent, you're just trying to find different moments throughout the week, which, you know, the great thing about sports is there's lots of those moments to reinforce those concepts.
I threw the link in our YouTube chat if people want to check it out, 1616.org. If you're a podcast listener and you want to go find it. I did promise the YouTube chat I'd send you one of their questions. So you got to bear with me here. Bert sent one in, and he wants to know, what was your first impression of Dustin Byfuglien as a teammate, and do you have a good big Buff story?
Oh, man, I got lots of Buff stories. I mean, my first, like, I'll tell you the first time I met Buff. Or I didn't meet him. I ran into Buff. I'll say that literally on the ice. But he was playing in Prince George, and I was in Calgary. And at that time, I was running through everything, and I'd finished all my checks. And Buff was playing in PG, and I'm like, who is this guy? And he's just like looked like he was wearing no shoulder pads, and he was playing D. And first time I have him lined up, and I think I'm like dead to rights. I'm going to absolutely bury this guy. And I hit him, and I was like, just knocked every last bit of oxygen out of my body. So that was my first impression of Buff. And then you get to see him throughout, you know, we played together, same age. So throughout junior, and then coming into Chicago, just seeing how he was. But man, what's a good Buff story? I think there's just like the pure strength of Buff. Like one thing, it was funny. There was kind of a switch for him when in the playoffs in 2010 we won. It was like in the finals, he finally figured out how big and strong he was. And I think everyone remembers, like, you know, he buried Chris Pronger in the corner, and you know, Pronger's this massive human being. It doesn't happen very often to him. So there was like a level of confidence that he gained from that. And I still remember I got married the summer after our year in Atlanta, and he was in the pool with probably 5 massive humans on him, and they were just wrestling. It was like Ben Eager and Taves and Seabrook, and he was like had all 4 of them on his shoulders and was just tossing them around the pool. That was just the biggest smile on his face, and that was Big Buff every day, just like this big teddy bear, but didn't truly understand his own strength. And when he figured that out, he was pretty unstoppable.
That's great.
I appreciate the time, Andrew. This is great. Again, 1616.org, a really, really cool program for people to go check out. Thanks for popping on.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate having me.
I like that you said you're kind of getting into media. Huts, we do the show every day. You are in media.
Well, yeah,
full-time job.
It's not full-time hours. You know what I mean? I'm still on this, like, this is my first full week, so I'm still just getting into it. Maybe my opinion will change by February.
All right, we got through our Ask DFO with Andrew Ladd there. Get Big Buff story out of the way. You never played with him, right, Huts?
No, Buff was gone. I just played against him a bunch in the Central League, and when he would talk about Buff, I just picture him coming down the wall when I was in Nashville, and he would just kill guys. That's when they had that huge decor. It was him, Bogosian, Mark Stewart. They just had a huge bunch of guys, but when he hit guys, he would just flip them right over.
All right, let's get to our daily bets for today, brought to you by Bet365. Download the app, use the promo code NATION. At the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm looking at the lines for there's no lines. Luckily for us, gentlemen, we have the daily face-off survivor pool. Oh, Pat, you want to show the results for tomorrow? You really want to do this stuff?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we have to because we need to keep track. Not very good for us yesterday. Of course, everyone losing a unit on this one, but I mean, the good thing is we don't have to do it today, right?
Yeah, there you go. We got a night off. Tomorrow, though, it is the first week of the Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool. We're all in the mix playing for our hands at that $2,500 cash prize. So instead of giving bets, let's give our Survivor picks for tomorrow. Pat, we're on the same page. Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, I thought people were going to think I was copying you, but I did have this picked before today. So I've got on the right there the list of what the average pick for each team is. So Carolina leading right now, Vegas is second, Montreal is third. But I thought it was funny that Carter picked Oilers and we didn't. But I feel like we can't pick the Oilers in week 1.
Yeah, I'm allowed to. So I think they bounced back. Right after that game, I had to go with the Oilers at home against the Canucks. I feel like Skinner's going to have a bounce back game. I just think it's going to be one of those emotional ones, and I look for them to win that one.
Yeah, I like Vegas. I think my strategy this year is going to be trying to find like really good teams who maybe aren't like playing their best. Like I don't want to pick someone who's a good team who's won like 5 in a row. That's prime for a letdown spot for me. So I kind of like Vegas. I mean, they didn't play that well against LA. They blew the lead. They needed a miracle, as we saw earlier, to beat San Jose. So Vegas going up against Seattle, I feel like we're due for like a really, really dominant Golden Knights performance.
Yeah, the tricky thing is, too, I believe you can only pick a team twice throughout this whole thing. So you got to be strategic on when you pick the better teams and when you can pick a team that might not win a lot, but they're going against an easier opponent. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean,
I
if there's
think the long
10
year.
like elite teams, though, it's a long year, and like you only got to make one pick a week. So, anyways, full slate of games tomorrow. Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool. Find it at dailyfaceoff.com. Wrapping up the show with a little bit of garbage time. We gave kudos to the LA Kings for their surprise jersey unveiling earlier in the week. The Penguins did the same thing. Huts, I think these jerseys are terrible, though. The all yellow, I think a lot of Penguins fans were hoping for some sort of a throwback since it's one of the last years with Sid and Gino and Letang all there. I don't know. I'm not sure if I love these way throwback yellows.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. You know what? Honestly, me and Pat were chatting about this before the show started. Just the yellow helmets for me, though. I think like maybe if they went black helmet, would that break it up a bit, or like maybe a little black on the shoulder? It's a lot of yellow. Even last night, like watching the game and seeing them all on the ice, it's just like a kind of a blob wheeling around. And I feel like the helmets kind of do it for me, Ty.
Yeah, the shoulder patch is kind of cool, but again, I don't like the all yellow. Portuguese Walrus in the chat says they missed the hot dog and hit their jersey. The mustard yellow isn't always a great look. I did like this photo, though, of Sid, Gino, and Letang all in front of or all on the goal line ahead of what is, I believe, their 20th season as teammates. That's crazy. We just finished talking about rookies at the start of the show who are only 18 years old.
Yeah, I know. It's wild that they've been around this long and still how dominant Crosby's been. Obviously, I took Crosby in the pool there, my pick, and he had nothing. And then last night he goes off. So it's, he's still got a lot of game left in him. And Malkin, I chatted about this earlier. Malkin looks really good right now. I think him and Brazeau, there's a little bit of energy going right there. So the Pens are looking good right now. I don't know if it's the jerseys that look good, but the play's right there.
All right, that is a wrap on our first full week. 5 shows in the books this week, and they were good ones. Everybody in the YouTube, good stuff. We are doing a show on Monday, so happy Thanksgiving to all our Canadian listeners and subscribers. But we will give you a little hockey talk on Monday morning / afternoon. So have yourselves a good weekend. Go Blue Jays. We'll see you Monday. Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Face-Off YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Face-Off Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.